Welcome, everyone, to A Mexican and a Redneck Father the World. We are your hosts and surrogate fathers, Juan and Ben. Today we'll be discussing what a man can expect during pregnancy.
Pregnant wife, for sure.
Pregnant wife.
A lot of moodiness. A lot of rejection. A lot of midnight runs.
I think it's fun. I did not expect to gain about 10 pounds. Sympathy weight is what it's called.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys with that first, and this, I'm going in this with the rules. Here, let me give you some rules. It's your first baby. So I'm kind of talking to those who haven't had a baby yet, because I'm kind of pulling from my first kid. Because with the second, third kid, I kind of knew what to expect. You have that veteran type thing about you. So it wasn't as much a surprise.
Yeah, the first one is fun. Because you get to, especially you get that sympathy way, or like you start to eat things that you're like, oh yeah, this is great. Yeah.
We've eaten Chinese food 3 days in a row. Yeah. I'm not bored at all of this. This is delicious.
Yeah, because that was, I remember when Brittany and I first got pregnant with our first one, and she had gone into this kick of like working out, which is great. It was like we were working out. We were like 2 minutes away from the gym, so we would get up like at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym, working out, all that stuff, and then like eating super healthy, which meant that sometimes you didn't really get to eat out or eat junk food or stuff like that. But then she got pregnant, and then all she wanted to do was like watch TV and eat junk food. And I was like, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's cool. It was like, you're like vegging out. So I think I gained like 10 or 15 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sympathy weight. That's one thing you can expect with the first kid, that you were kind of like, I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Because I saw pictures of myself. I was chubby before anyways, but I look back at pictures after my daughter was first born. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was just fat. Like, I got really big. And I just look like a swollen tick on the back of a dog,
Oh, wow.
With that big engorged, just like that thing's going to pop at any moment. Like, that's how like my face, it was bad. So I had to lose that sympathy weight. But, my experience was I wanted this child. So it wasn't a surprise. We were actually wanting a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only give this experience from my perspective. But not only did we want this child, we wanted it together, and we were excited, and this was our journey. And so I found that my wife and I grew closer in a new way. Like, that's one thing I discovered. It was because I know some people talk about how hard it is once the baby comes and all this stuff. And it is harder with the pregnancy, and there's all the changes. But there was a closeness, like, we're doing this together. This is new to both of us. We're both in agreement on this journey. And that was one thing that really was a big takeaway was how much I learned about her that I didn't know before. It was like, wow. I knew you're my best friend, but I'm really learning stuff about you. We took we decided to do a natural birth. We had for our first child, we had a birth center with a midwife and all this stuff. It was a great experience. And we did
Didn't you guys have to like drive out to Tennessee or something like that?
We had to drive to Tennessee because midwifery was criminalized in Alabama in 2012 at that time.
Bastards.
So
freaking Alabamians. We
protested. We actually were on the news. Apparently, someone's like, "We saw you on the news protesting for midwifery," and it was like we were proud of you, and then we realized you want midwives in Alabama.
Yeah.
But I think they decriminalized it in 2017 or something
like that. Yeah.
And so that was cool. But so our third kid, we didn't have to go to Tennessee. We actually had her in the floor of our bathroom.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
first one,
we did this this birthing class. And one thing that always stuck out to me, I mean, she had disgusting health food. She was like, I've got some seaweed with salt on it. I'm like, what? She's
Is
like,
this your wife?
no, the birth
The
teacher.
birth teacher? Okay.
She was cool. She was trying to teach us there are good health foods, but some of them weren't good to me at the time. I'd probably like them now.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste.
But-
That's what I found with the health foods.
Yeah, some of it I was like, that's too healthy for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't even know what that bean is, but you've made it into a cracker. So I'm not eating that. It tastes gross. Sorry. No, she was cool. She was tried. But she did this exercise where, and this was the coolest exercise I've ever done. And it helped in a lot of different areas of life, but it was a reading her signs exercise.
Okay.
So she laid down on the ground, and basically the teacher said during the birth, she's not always going to be able to communicate with you. She's going to go into her head and recess, and so you'll have to look for signs. And I was like, oh, okay. And so basically they told the women to give subtle movements to indicate there's a problem somewhere on their body. So all the women laid down on the floor. And I mean, there was only like 5 couples in the class. But we're all laid out on the floor, and the men stood over them, and the women would have to like gently move their finger, and they say, okay, where's the problem? And she would like call us out and stuff. And so like, oh, the problem's in her finger. And your wife's like, oh, that's right. And there's always that one dude who's like, I think there's something wrong with me. I can't figure it out because he just wasn't in tune. And she'd be like, I was twitching my neck. He's like, I can't see your neck twitching. I don't know what to do. But that was a cool, it was like, oh, and it was a body language, a subtle body language class. Like that was one growing experience I got from it. But that was part of the closeness I started learning was, oh, subtle body language. Because women are good about body language also, in my experience.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. We didn't take that class. We took some class, but it wasn't that. It was like just like, like the how to swaddle a kid and
We learned that stuff too.
how to change their diaper, which everybody knows how to do that, right?
I guess. I knew how.
Yeah. Well, I knew how because
I found out how to.
yeah, like I'm the oldest of 6 in my family, so I was like telling my wife, I was like, I got this. It's gonna be fine. Yeah, our first kid, she didn't believe me, but then like when we had it, and I was like, oh yeah, change diaper, hold it, and everything. She's like, oh, you know what you're doing? I was like, yeah, I've raised 5 kids, not mine, my parents' kids. Yeah. So it worked out. But
Good deal.
the fun thing was just getting fat.
It was getting well, but then for us, it was like I like everyone talks about the sonogram, and you get to see the baby for the first time. That was cool.
Exciting. That was exciting.
That was one of those. It's cliche, but it's cliche because it's so awesome. Like that really is an exciting moment, and you've got like this picture of what can only be described as a space alien growing in your wife's womb. And you show it and you're like, look at my new baby. And people are like, it looks like something
It's a
out of a
bean.
sci-fi movie.
It's just black and white lines. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
No, you can see
Yeah.
its hand. It's like, no, you can't. You cannot see its hand.
Yeah.
It looks like a bean with vines growing out of it.
Yeah. It's fun. Did you have that experience with the first one where it's like your wife, she's connected with the child, because obviously it's growing inside of her.
Yes.
And she's like all excited, and then you're trying to get her to be excited, be like, "Oh yeah, we're having a baby," but you just can't experience it because you're not feeling anything. You're just seeing her, get bigger.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you're
When
like,
they kicked, that was a thing. It was like, oh, it's kicking, and she's elated, and she's like, it's kicking. Do you come feel it? And you feel it. And you're like, wow, that's so cool. That's my kid. But at the same time, you're like, you're really into this, and I kind of feel like a jerk because I'm not.
yeah. So like, did you have
like it's cool, but it's like I don't feel this every day. I just don't have your perspective. I'm not trying to be mean.
So I guess the question is like, at what point did you feel like, oh wait, I'm about to be a dad, or was it just kind of like you knew, or
man, that's a really good question, because I don't know if there was a moment that I realized like, oh, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a little more like simple, bare bones, basic. Like people explain theory to me, for example, and I kind of get lost. And I try to follow them, but my poor father-in-law has been trying to explain what a black hole is to me, like kind of help me understand, like from that movie Interstellar. I've been asking him questions about that movie ever since I saw it, and I still don't even understand a lot of the stuff in it.
It's a movie. It's make believe, Ben. What are you trying to stand?
Supposedly, him and other scientists agree that it is possible, but he was trying to explain, like,
Next thing you're gonna tell me dinosaurs are real.
well, I mean, why do you think rifles were so successful?
Well,
because they
true.
killed the dinosaurs with rifles.
That's true. Yeah, right.
I mean, come on. Get with the program, Juan. No, but so like there's a thing. Oh no, I lost my train of thought.
Baby.
Baby.
And when did you become a father? When did you
Oh,
have
yeah,
the feeling
so
of becoming a father?
It's like, man, I want to empathize and sympathize and be like, oh yeah, the baby. But she's growing it in her womb.
Yeah.
It's inside of her body. And yeah, you're seeing her reactions, but it's kind of like you're getting all the news secondhand.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, you see her belly getting big, but she's still changing. So until you really hear the heartbeat, see the sonogram, that's why it was so exciting. It's because I got to see, like, oh, you are real. It's not just her belly's big and there's something in there. Because you can kind of imagine from medical books and stuff, but there's no way to really know. I think the biggest moment was after the baby is born. And like I watched the whole process from start to finish, 26 hours of labor with no pain meds. My wife is...
She's, wow, that's impressive.
I mean, it was so, I was like, whoa,
Did
you're
he get
tough.
Did you get the, you did this to me?
I never got the you did this to me.
I hate you.
My wife's an introvert, so she kind of went into her head. She was probably cussing me in her head, which is fine. But she never did openly. But she's just a real trooper, just kept focusing on her breathing. And I tried. She said I did great. Like I gave her all the stuff she needed and wanted and didn't get in the way. So I was like, great.
You guys had a doula?
We did on the second child. And for the third child, I think we just had like some people kind of there to help out because it was at home.
Yeah, we got a doula the first one. It was probably like the best decision we did because
doulas are great.
She made me look like a champ. Like
They
I
do.
had no like I'm like because we did it in the hospital and I was like I had no clue what to do. But she was like, you need to do this. And then like at one point I'm like screaming at my wife, "You're doing great! You're doing awesome!" And she was like, "Calm down." And I was like, oh, okay. And then like my wife afterwards, she told me, she's like, yeah, I wanted to like throw you out of the room when you were yelling at me and telling me that I was doing awesome, but I know you're just trying to be nice. But then when like the doula told me like, hey, do it soft, I was like, oh, thank you for controlling him, because I was like, oh, and so I was like,
because you're excited.
Yeah,
this is your first time seeing because the belly's growing larger, but it's over 9 months.
Yeah.
So you're seeing gradual increases, the heartbeat, it might kick, and those are like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah.
But the birth is the first time where you're not seeing changes over the course of months or weeks. You're seeing immediate, hour by hour, there's a noticeable difference in her. And you're like, I think that's when the gravity of it set in. She's giving birth. And I hate to say it this, like I knew I was a dad. Like when she told me, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a dad, but you don't know what that means. But then you see for us, we were in the water. I reached down, the midwife's like, you ready? I'm like, yeah, I have my hands down there and ready to go. And I reached down, and then the baby, she just comes out, and there's little Aria just shooting out. And I catch her and I hold her for the first time. I'm like, wow. It also makes you look at the female parts differently. Just spoiler alert for all you men. It's like, wow, that can also do that? That's amazing. You're amazing. I definitely after the birth, I was like, I didn't know women were capable of so much stuff. They're incredible. I thought they were incredible before, but now I'm like, I didn't know their secret power was growing a human and giving birth. That's a superpower.
Yeah.
If you want to know a real life superhero, watch a pregnant woman.
There's so many thoughts that's going through my mind that
Oh,
I cannot say because it's a family show.
It is a family show, but women are superheroes. That's all I'm trying to say right now, if nothing else. But you see it, and I think the time I knew I was a dad was when I held the baby for the first time. You're like, oh, so this is what fatherhood is. Like, I kind of get it now. You know, it finally sets in. I'm holding this kid. I'm like, oh, I'm your dad. I have to show this kid who's at the very beginning how to do everything I know how to do up to this point. I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't have the bonding experience until I actually had the kid.
Yeah,
in my hands.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that was the same way for me. It's like I knew it, but then like when you hold your child for the first time, it's kind of like, oh,
it's like you know the responsibility,
Yeah.
but when you hold them, you finally understand it.
yeah,
fully.
you
Like,
get that
oh.
skin to skin contact because like they've been feeling this child for the entire 9 months,
oh yeah,
and this is the first time that you're like, oh, you weren't just complaining and whining. It's like you were growing a life inside of you.
arguably, although it's harder once they finally come out because you have to take more direct action.
Mm-hmm.
They've been raising a child for 9 months, and now they're giving birth to it, and both of you get to start raising it. But
Yeah.
she's been kind of raising it. I mean, your goal in pregnancy should be to help her feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Don't ask her to do these insane chores or tasks or whatever.
Yeah.
You need to give her a lot of grace. If she's feeling sick, just
A lot, yeah.
let her be sick in bed. That's what she needs
the
right
one
now.
thing that I wish I had known better or had a better understanding of it. Like, give them a lot of grace.
Lots of grace. They need it. They're raising a child not by themselves because they're not actively doing a lot.
Yeah,
Like, they're not controlling what's happening, but their body is doing a lot naturally. And you just need to, how can I make your body more comfortable? How can I give you the food or the rest or just, do something nice to make
Yeah.
bring their spirits up, you know?
for sure, for sure.
So
So yeah, but then that's good. That's good. Anything else you got?
no, I don't want to spoil too much.
All right. Well, guys, with that being said, we want to thank everyone for listening to A Mexican and Redneck Follow the World. We love you and we're proud of you.